All right. So today, this is our agenda for the workshop. We're going to continue going through the 6 approaches for media integration. This workshop, we will cover the final 2 that we haven't covered in the first 2 series. We'll talk about explore and document. And we have a lot of interesting strategies and tools to share with you today when it comes to those 2 things. And like we always do, we'll give you some time to play around and explore those things. We'll let you know about things happening here at Montana PBS, and then we'll do some prizes. So explore and document, and as you have seen these are our 6 approaches, and I think many of you have been here before, so you know that we've already gone through Spark, Model, Create, and Share. Explore and document were the 2 we paired because we can use media to investigate and research a topic, and then we can use digital tools to document learning. And for those that haven't seen this before, this is just a really nice framework for teachers of all students, but especially the younger elementary age students, to use to help have a more deliberate approach to using media in the classroom. I was just explaining this to my coworkers here last week, and I'm the only one on staff that has any background in education. So when I say media integration, they hear wah, 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 wah. They don't have any idea what I'm talking about. And so I was going through all of the 6 approaches and describing what all of these things mean. And I think I grew up in a time where the teacher would kind of push the giant TV and the VCR into the room and push play, and we knew that the next hour or so we could just check out and watch this film, and the teacher would go to the back of the room and, I don't know, catch up on paperwork and stuff. We know now that that's not the best way to integrate media into the classroom, although sometimes it works for inside recess and things like that. What we really want to encourage is a real deliberate practice of using media to inspire kids to do more with the content that they're taking in. Anything to add on that one, Traci, before I move on?
No, I like your example of the rolling in the old AV cart because it's like we saw it coming and we knew, okay, we're just going to sit
Yep.
here. But I do think that deliberate, intentional use of media and technology is really at the heart of all of these approaches and all of these sessions that we've been doing. So I love that.
All right. So I'm going to be going over the explore portion and providing some strategies and examples that you can use to use media to explore new ideas and topics with students. And I talk about these 2 things as one of my favorite things to talk about. And one you probably know about, and the other one you might be going, I don't know what that is. Multimedia text sets and hyperdocs. And these are both strategies for using media in the classroom that teachers can curate and put together using these 2 things. And so what I thought was a hyperdoc was actually a multimedia text set. And I'm not alone because Traci just put a whole blog post in the chat where a teacher explains the difference between the 2. So a multimedia text set is a document or a Google slide or some kind of a virtual space where the teacher curates links for students to just go through and learn what they can about a specific topic. And I would do this, we're starting our electricity unit. I want kids to dive in and have a real student-centered opportunity to learn as much as they can about this topic. So, but instead of letting them loose on Google, which never felt right or felt good, I found, 5 or 6 links to resources that I knew were going to be easy for them to navigate and would give them the information I wanted them to take in about the topic. And I would put those either fancy with pictures and graphics or just a list on a document and give them a period of time to just go through and click and watch and consume. And that is a multimedia text set. It doesn't often require students to do anything other than consume. So they might watch videos, they might listen to podcasts, they might look at some images, they might play a digital game or click around on an interactive website. And it's just the whole purpose is just to explore a topic. Now, a hyperdoc is a little different. A hyperdoc is an actual lesson, and it's a self-paced lesson that is designed for students to maybe start at the exploration side of things, but then move through the framework of explore, explain, and apply to go through a cycle of learning. So they're actually completing a lesson from start to finish rather than just exploring a topic. And this is where it starts with consuming and then moves them in to describe their learning and create something, and it often culminates in some kind of a producing of a product, whether it's a poster with markers or a slide deck on Google Slides. They would take their learning and show what they learned as they went through the um, process of making those things. So there are examples of each of these hyperlinked on this slide, but on the next slide, I can kind of show you what this means. So a multimedia text set or a hyperdoc can take many forms, and it can be created with whatever you choose your favorite digital tool, and they've got the one that works for you. So this is this is an example of a hyperdoc, and this is a template for a hyperdoc. So it starts with these steps. You would just assign each student their own copy of this document. Google Classroom makes that really easy if you submit it that way and have every student make a copy. So it might be do this, go to this website, explore, and then there might be a collection of resources to go through. And then there might be an explain piece where they'd have to stop and type an answer or audio record an answer to a set of questions. And then there's an opportunity to apply what they've learned, whether they create something using digital tools or they get out their pencil and paper and draw a picture, they apply what they're learning. Ends in sharing, reflecting, and extending. I've heard a lot of teachers, you don't have to have all of these steps either, especially when you're first getting started with a hyperdoc. You might take them through engage, explore, explain, and end with apply, and maybe add share the next time you do it. But this document, all you would have to do is select the text and type in whatever it was that you wanted them to do. So this is what a hyperdoc might look like. A Google slide, which was my favorite way of assigning a hyperdoc because it was a little bit easier for kids to go through the slide deck the same way they would the pages of a notebook, where they could just click on the film strip and find all of the things that they were supposed to do. And they could usually figure out where they left off if the work had to stop during one period and get picked up during another period. So this one is one that someone else made. I didn't make this one, but it starts with some essential questions. It provides them with the skills that they're going to take on as they're working through this, has a video for them to watch, takes them through the table of contents that this is a book study hyperdoc. So students would be reading The Chocolate Touch, and after each chapter, they would come to this slide deck and do an activity that is associated with this chapter. So chapter 1, these are their vocabulary things that the vocabulary words that they need to study. This is the characters that they would need to, and there's a video to watch. So a student would go through the tasks on these slides at their own pace and use this lesson to facilitate a self-paced study of a book. Google Drawing is another one that I love because it's just sort of like a whiteboard tool. This is one that I actually hate that the minute hand and the second hand move, that gets old. But this one has them doing things and then using these little text box to type in their responses. And so they start here at 1 o'clock and they move their way around the clock. Each prompt has them has them clicking on hyperlinks to go outside of this tool and watch something or read something, usually watching a video. This one has a Flipgrid connected to it so they could record a response. This one has them watching a Brain Pop video so they could watch the video and then record their responses there. And again, they would go through each of these time things, and when they were finished, they turn in just this document to you. So that's another example of a hyperdoc. Multimedia text sets are a little different, and this is made with a website called genially. And so this is one that's already pre-made. And this is just students clicking through and getting to watch a video for each thing. Each of these is embedded with embedded with links. So every time they click on one of these pictures, they have a diagram to look at or words to look at. This one has poop. Kids love poop. And they would click on all of those. So you might explore a topic like that using this tool, which is a Genially, which those examples are free and can be kind of custom tailored for your students. Now, the steps for creating a multimedia text set, which are my favorite, I'm going to show you the one that I've created most recently, is this one that I created for a group of teachers I was working with that were studying the Iditarod. I might have shared this with Katie in her group, I can't remember. But this one I used icons here, watch, listen, and read, and explore, and provided students with 2 tasks in each of these categories. I tried to use a variety of media, video, audio, games, books or articles to read on the web, and even an online museum that they could explore. So this would maybe be the introductory activity that a teacher would assign students at the beginning of the Iditarod unit to have them explore that topic. So yeah, Katie, that's right in this slide, on slide 9. It says Nikki's Iditarod multimedia text set. So you can grab that. So this all starts by first going and finding your resources. So I did this at the beginning of every unit. I would go out and like, what's out there? What are the videos that are out there? What are the podcasts that are out there? And I use a bookmarking tool called Wakelet, which is a really easy one to use, where you can just curate and hold all of your resources in one spot. And so these were all of the Iditarod resources that I went and found around the Iditarod. Some of them good, some of them not so good, but I at least had them all in one place, and I could kind of get a feel for what was out there. And again, I challenged myself to go beyond just video. I wanted to find podcasts. I wanted to find online image galleries. I wanted to find games, if I could find games. And Molly Denali has a really cute sled dog game that's on the PBS Kids website. So once I found all of those, my go-to sites when I was doing these, obviously PBS Learning Media and Wonderopolis that we've talked about in earlier sites. I also really loved BrainPop for doing these things. And obviously that's a subscription-based tool. And so you may not have access to it, but I often use tools that I knew my kids knew how to navigate, and that they had watched me access and they knew how to get to. YouTube was okay, but I hesitate to use YouTube links because of the rabbit hole it takes them down. So I tried to stick to the Learning Media and Wonderopolis things. Then I open up Google Docs and insert a table. A friend I used to present with said that her life changed when she learned how to insert a table in a document. And that's the truth. Like, if you want to make a menu of any kind, it's really just as simple as insert document, insert table. This is a 4 by 4 table that I just added a blue background, added an image here, used the Google search to add images and icons in here. It doesn't even need to look this fancy. It can be way simpler than this. Insert that table. There is an add-on called Icons for Slide and Docs that you can add to your slides and your documents that will give you these little icons for watch, listen, and read. And those are nice visual symbols for kids, especially your emergent readers, to pair those symbols with the words when you do things like this. And then create your text set and share it out with students. Always best to give them their own copy, and make sure that your settings are set so that I've got this set for editor. I'm going to change it to viewer so you don't all mess up my my multimedia text set and start deleting things. You don't want them, if you just want them to click on things, don't give them editing approval because they'll delete things and change things around. Not on purpose, just the accidents of working with shared documents. So then a hyperdoc is somewhat the same, but in the hyperdoc, you would start with a learning objective. What do I want my kids to do when they're done? So start with the end in mind. When they're done with this, I want them to be able to tell me what the Iditarod is, where it is, some of the vocabulary assigned to the race, and I want them to be able to talk with confidence about the race and a musher that they studied and followed during the race. And so identifying those objectives and the outcomes, just like with the multimedia text set, find your resources. But this time you're going to organize it using some kind of a framework, whether it's 5E or whether it's listen, learn, do, whatever framework works for you and your students. Then you create a slide deck or a Google document, create some directions, put in your links. My tip is always to design it last. So work with a black and white slide deck first and get all your content down there. Don't get hung up on the cuteness of it. It's not hard to add cute later. My role is that I've learned with these workshops is to create an ugly slide deck and send it to Traci, and then she goes through and makes it really cute. Because she has a special talent for that. Maybe she'll do that for you if you're in Billings. This is the Iditarod slide deck. I took this template from, I think, Slides Go and used that for the template. So I didn't do much of the designing of this. I've got my learning objectives. See what I did here? I inserted the multimedia text set into the hyperdoc. So the first activity in the hyperdoc is to explore the multimedia text set. So you can combine these things. Then I add things like a 3-2-1 explain table, which is, this is just a 3-by-3 table or a 2-by-3 table. And the kids would just type in the text box what their answers are. This is a little bit more interactive. We want them to drag the shapes, these circle shapes, to show where the race takes place. Where does it start? Where do they finish? And where are the stops on the way? And so these are the circles that actually are supposed to be out here. So don't give it to them with the answers like I would have done here. Have the circles out here. And then they would need to drag, after they've done some research, where the start, stop, and where the route is. This activity now is where they're going to apply what they learned. They're going to do some researching. So they're going to take this link here and go to the Iditarod website, and they're going to learn about the mushers that are currently participating in the race. This is linked to the 2022 race, so you'd want to change that link. So it was the current race. I think it could be happening right now. I think it always happens in March. And then on this slide, they're going to write facts about their musher, things that they admire. And on this one, we put together a flip grid for them to record themselves talking about what they learned. We did a cool thing with Three Forks in Amsterdam, and I think Twin Bridges a few years ago, where I created a flip grid for the teachers to share across those 3 communities, and the kids recorded their responses and then could listen to one another's responses. It worked pretty well. I think that it was fun to hear the kids from different schools talking about what they had learned, because all 3 of those schools were doing something with this activity. So that is a slide example of hyperdoc. I think I put on one of the slides where you can find more hyperdocs. I think that's on the other slide. I think it's on this one right here. So you can find more hyperdocs here at the hyperdocs website. You can find templates where they are already pre-made for you and you just insert your own content, and samples so you can see what else teachers have created. I like the templates because a lot of teachers have already created all of these things for you that you could just go through and modify slightly. On this one, this link here, We have examples of multimedia text sets. Now, when I show this in workshops, I get, oh, like the excitement when teachers see this alone is really exciting because this is a whole bunch of multimedia text sets that are just have been created for you. So if you wanted one on the wild robot or Greek mythology, or one on habitats for second grade, or one on geometry for math, all of these have already been created and you can just borrow them. So if you were teaching about the election, which I think a lot of us will be coming up soon, you can just go ahead and use this one. You might want to update it, and always best practice is to go through and click on all the links and make sure that they are current and that they're still working. You may want to modify this particular one for the 2024 election, not the 2016 election, but it serves as a really good template for creating something on your own. So that is a nice, big, huge list of sample multimedia text sets that you can use to get kids exploring topics on their own. Remember, the point of this is that it's a student-centered approach to taking in information and taking a step back from maybe lecturing or being the one in the room to give out all the information. Using a multimedia text set or a hyperdoc puts the students in control of their own learning with support, of course. So I'll head forward. The last piece I'll show, just if you wanted to think about how PBS Learning Media specifically would help kids in exploring a topic or exploring media, there is a student view of PBS Learning Media that if you click on Learning Media / student, this is what the page looks like. And so I'll navigate to that real quickly and show you how to find it. So when I go to PBS Learning Media, it automatically looks like this and it's set up for teachers. But you'll see this little part right here where it says student site. So if students click on student site, it automatically it's going to say, okay, what grade do you explore? And this is the part where then it will filter the options for students based on the grade band that they select. That's not perfect, but it is a start. So if you've got a K2 class, you have them click K2, and now they can either explore by topic using this carousel right here, or they can use the topic search to put in their topic that they want to explore. You'll notice the site doesn't look a whole lot different than it does for teachers. The difference is they just filtered it for the students using that initial thing. Up here is where you could toggle between grade levels if you needed to change it, or if you need to go back to, if you wanted to change it to something like this, or if you need to go back to teacher view, you can come back to the very bottom and say return to teacher view. So that's why, so that's one way that students can use PBS Learning Media on their own to explore topics. So Traci, I think that was everything that I was going to share. Did you have anything to add to all of those things that I talked about?
I love all that. I just love, I mean, so many times we want, especially our young students, to do some kind of authentic research, and then be able to share, but we never know really how to get them those materials to explore. And so oftentimes it's, we've all read the same book or whatever, and then they're just sort of regurgitating. And so I just love how these ideas just kind of empower. Again, you're not just saying go to Google and start searching, but really putting those parameters in place, kind of curating for them some, ways that they can start kind of authentically digging into some research and learning on their own. So I love that. So many great ideas. I will. Why is it that when you want it, you can never see the share screen? And it's
It
right in the middle
hides.
too. It's right in the middle and
Yes.
it always hides from me. Um, Okay, so I wasn't even in present mode here. That's probably okay. So we'll chat a little bit now about documenting. Hold on one sec. I'll pop this open here. Um, and again, documenting can be done in so many. Here we go. Okay. So many different ways, but really what we're wanting is just students to be sharing their learning. So in those hyperdocs, I mean, part of what the hyperdoc is documenting pieces of that learning where they're explaining and applying, reflecting. So they might be documenting it right inside that hyperdoc. We've shared other ways. The first session we talked about Seesaw. Seesaw would be another great way to just kind of share and document that learning. So always, we kind of pick some of our favorite tools. There's many, many ways that you could sort of be doing these same things, but we wanted to share a couple of book creation tools with you because those can be such a nice way of documenting student learning. Whether they're creating, maybe once a piece of that hyperdoc, how they can apply what they've learned is maybe going to Book Creator and creating a book about what they learned about the Iditarod. Maybe you're creating just one book that the student is going to use as a portfolio throughout the year of their math learning or writing or whatever that topic is. So we really like how these book creation tools are so open-ended. They can be applied to any topic, any subject, any grade level, automatically differentiated depending on the ability of your learners and their grade level, and just having access to all of those multimodal tools. I think as we're documenting, just something to be so aware of is giving students lots of ways to share and document what they're doing. Maybe they're going to take pictures. Maybe they're going to just use a microphone and explain. Maybe they want to write a whole bunch. Maybe they want to draw and then be able to upload that drawing. So I love that these multimodal tools just give them so many different ways to be able to document that learning. So we're going to look at two book making tools. The first one is Write Reader. And the link is right here. We did create a couple of bookshelves. So in a few minutes, kind of after I give an overview, we'll give you some links where if you want to join the bookshelves here that we created, you could get into either one of these tools and kind of explore a little bit, and then we can see each other's creations. But Write Reader is the first one. A couple of things I really love about Write Reader. Again, they're both book creation tools. This one has some supports embedded that I think are really nice for emergent readers and language learners. You can turn on some utility settings where it'll like stretch the words out for students as they're typing them. So, they'll type in the words. Once they hit the space bar, it would read to them what that word was, or if they get to the end of a sentence, once they tap, the punctuation mark, it would read that full sentence. Those are nice supports to kind of make it independent for those learners. I feel like I spend half of my time walking around, stretching out words and that kind of thing. So it kind of helps with that. So I love those. Of course, it has those multimodal tools. It's shareable as a link or it prints, and I printed some, and they're sitting in my car. They print so nicely. They print like as a little booklet where you can fold the pages in half, and it looks just like this. So it's kind of fantastic when you actually like print some of these books and hand them to the students. They get so excited about seeing their like work published in an actual book. So they are shareable as a link, but it's really easy to download and print. Write Reader has a very simple interface and pretty limited choices. So when I click here, this should take us to an example. You'll notice I don't have really any font choices here. They can type, but it's just one font. They can add an image. So each page, basically, they're going to have an image and some text. He was able to choose the color of the cover. And then this one doesn't have a voice. They can use the microphone to read. These students didn't do that. So again, they have the multimodal tools. They have just enough, I think, choice for it to feel really creative and for them to take ownership of it. But I like that there's not so much that it becomes a distraction. Kind of like when Nikki was saying, when you make your hyperdocs and stuff to do the meat of it first and then go in and do all the design. That's sort of, this too with our students, but it is sometimes really hard to focus on what we want them to focus on, the writing or sharing their learning, whatever it is, that learning objective, when there's so many bells and whistles. So this, I think, is just such a nice, simple interface. I've used this with students from kindergarten. Again, I work mostly K-3, but I've used it with students up through 5th grade. And all of them, I mean, I'm always just really surprised because it is such a simple tool. Love it. Usually when I leave, the teachers say, I mean, this is the thing that they choose when they have a center, free time on Friday, like they're in here clicking around and they're making and creating books. So that's always pretty cool to hear. These are both freemium, both of these tools that we're showing you. Right Reader, you can create 60 books for free. After that, you won't be able to create any more books. You'll also see that there are some features that are premium features. So there might be a few page types or something that will look like they're locked if you're just using the free version. If you use the free version and play around and want to try out premium, they did give me this code right here, and that would unlock a premium trial for 30 days. So you could kind of course, right as I start talking, Baxter, my cat, decided he wanted to join. So he's right here. If you see me going like this, it's because I'm getting hit by a tail. Um, but then you could put that code in, and I'm going to show you where I think you put the code in. So I'm in my Right Reader account. So if you had a free account created, in these 3 little lines right here where it says subscription settings, I believe then that is where you would enter that code if you wanted to try out that the 30-day trial with the premium features. I'm just going to kind of open so you'll notice people ask me all the time how many classes you can have on one account, and I don't know the answer to that, but you'll see that I have many, and it hasn't stopped me from making any additional ones. So I have quite a few classes in this one account. So I'm just going to kind of open. My daughter made this one years ago, and I haven't renamed it. This is my kind of play around one. It's called Unicorns. She'd probably be so embarrassed now that it was called Unicorns, now that she's a sophisticated 7th grader. But I'm just going to kind of open here so you see my bookshelf. All of the students' books, as they create them, will automatically populate my bookshelf. And I like telling them that a lot of our students here in Billings are used to Seesaw, where you make something, and then when you're ready to turn it in, you click the check mark. And the teacher doesn't really see it until you click the check mark. So I really like to make sure they know, like, as soon as you start your book, it's showing up on your teacher's dashboard. Your teacher can see everything that you're making and creating. Your teacher can also see if you've been making a bunch of books when you're not supposed to be making a bunch of books, just so that they kind of know that there's that accountability piece there. By default, and I'll kind of show you settings really fast. By default, they can see one another. I think it's here in the book settings. They can see, oh, nope, it must be student settings, sorry. They can see one another's books. I kind of like that. I work again with young students like K-2, K-3. Some of the teachers of older students don't really like them to be able to automatically see each other's books. So just know that that's on by default. So like if I say, I just want to see my books, this isn't a good example. Most of these I've made, it would turn it just so it's mine. And then if I said class books, it would show me the entire classes. And that's how it would work for students as well. If you just want them to see their own, you could change that in the settings. it's really simple to toggle that back on and off. So a lot of times what teachers will do if they don't want it on all the time, okay, this Friday, we've been working on these books. We're getting ready to publish our Facts About Animals books. So I'm going to toggle that class bookshelf on Friday for an hour. We'll all be able to see and read each other's books, and then she could easily toggle that back off. But I really do like how easy it is for them to have an authentic audience right away just by looking at the bookshelf. When I'm ready to make a book, you'll notice there's a little plus sign down here at the bottom. I have a couple of choices on mine because I do have the premium account. This is the kind of typical book type. The one with just the mountains on it is a picture book that will look similar to, I'm not sure if I have a good example here. It'll look similar to kind of this setup where it's sort of it's going to be just an image. I usually start with that one, maybe in pre-K or kindergarten, where we're just adding an image and then adding labels or our voice. Not a lot of text on those books. Mostly I like using the kind of traditional book type. So I'm going to try to open it just so I can show you how simple the interface is. I won't spend much time here because you'll have some time to explore. But again, you'll just kind of see I can add some text in here. I can't mess with the font. I can change the color. If I click on the little mountains for the images, I do love that they have this embedded image bank. These first few usually change depending on the seasons. And then the ones near the back are almost always usually there. Kids love, love, love this little image bank here. We get lots and lots of Minecraft how-to books. They also really love where these animal images are. Again, especially with young students, it's like there's already kind of this curated little bank of pictures here. I find that it oftentimes that they're not sure where to start writing, it really sparks some ideas and some interest and gets them writing pretty quickly. If they don't find stuff in the image bank, you'll notice there's also a search tool as well as a camera, or they can upload so they can take pictures, or if they've made images somewhere else. A lot of times if they've done drawings, we'll use the camera, take pictures of their drawings and put those on here. Or we've made things in other programs like Canva or PicCollage or something, and then they can upload them into here. The other thing I'll show you, because I don't know why, every time I go to the next page, I always click this little arrow, which then just takes me to the end of the book. It's this. I want them to make this nice and big and blue or something, so I notice it better. But as you're exploring, this is how you would add your additional pages. Again, you only have one page type if you're using the free version, and it looks like this. The intent of this is that they've built in this little space here where educators can write. The idea is you could be checking the students' books and writing notes. Sometimes if they have, again, I'm working with kindergarten, some of their spelling is phonetic spelling. I could write the intended sentence or word down here, and then it'll automatically read that to them correctly. So that's sort of the point of that. I also like using it sometimes as like a word bank or something like that. So lots of things in here to kind of click around, play, and explore. Sharing is happening here with this link sharing button. I can toggle this on, and then that would create a public link that I could send to mom and dad or put in Seesaw or however you're wanting to share, where they could click on it and then read their student's book. You might also, if you sign in as a teacher or create a free account really fast, you might also explore the template library. There are some templates already created. If you click on it and want to use it, you could just click on use, and then you would be able to edit in any way that you'd like before you share this with your students. So there are some, I think, just some good ideas in there sometimes of how other teachers have used Right Reader in the past. So that's a real quick overview of Right Reader. I'll kind of hop back into the slides real quickly. Questions on Right Reader. There's a few other examples in here. Whoops. There's a few other examples in here. These are what are called reading rooms here at the bottom. So I was able to make a reading room and then select a bunch of books. So these are both examples from, we did a project where I worked with our literacy coaches. So the students wrote on a particular topic, and then we published these books and displayed them at the Billings Library. So these are all books, the ones over here. This was a really cool project. They picked like their favorite place in town and then wrote about it. And we just got such a kick out of what some of their, I mean, I think there's one on here about Town Pump, and I mean, they love Town Pump, Winco Foods. And I mean, they're great. If you click on these, I mean, they have so much detail and they tell about why they love them. Our literacy coaches actually printed these books and took them to the businesses. And the businesses were just thought this was about the coolest thing they've ever seen. So this was a really fun project, but you'll see how nicely it displays, like we could put all of these books on that topic together and make a reading room and then share this link where anyone could then, read and enjoy these books. So feel free to click on those examples there. And then there are a couple of resource links up here. I do have a Wakelet collection with just some Right Reader, like getting started videos, how to share them, that kind of thing. And then this bottom one here is just a more in-depth presentation. If this is something you're like, yeah, this is really cool, but I need a little bit more time with it, this would just be a more in-depth presentation about Right Reader. So some resources there, some ideas. Before I dive into Book Creator, let me know if there's any questions about Right Reader. Okay. So the next tool that we'll share is also a book making tool. This one's called Book Creator. This one is, as I mentioned, like freemium. In Book Creator, you can create up to 40 books for free. So if you went to bookcreator.com, you could set up a free account just to be able to explore a little bit. I think this tool is amazingly accessible. So many different features, again, with the multimodal tools, being able to add like alternate text, things like that into your images. All of the multimodal tools, it is, again, easily shared as you could download it as a PDF or a link. There is a Book Creator app, and in the app, you can also share as a video. While Right Reader is pretty simple, I feel like you've got unlimited creativity in Book Creator. You can almost, kind of see the difference between Right Reader and Book Creator just in this example here. Just the background, the different text, all the things that you could add into here. Students can definitely really customize. I'm just going to kind of click on here so you can look. She did record her voice, I believe.
All About Me by Kenzie.
I love listening to that. Anytime they can record their voices, I try to have them record their voices for a couple of reasons. First, I think it's really a good practice for them to have to kind of go back to the beginning and reread what they wrote, and just sort of make sure it makes sense, see if there's anything, that they should change or that kind of thing. And a lot of them come up with the idea too, like, oh, then if we shared this, everybody would be able to listen to it. Like maybe they can't read the words I wrote, but they would be able to listen to it. So I love that they think of that as well. So I'm just going to kind of scroll through the pages here. Again, this was just a really like simple, all about me book, just to kind of like, hey, get started with something that really encouraging them to use all the tools in here. Text, drawing, there's an image search in here so they could add images. And then there's also just some graphics that they can add. So just again, a easy, simple way for them to kind of practice using the tool by just being able to share about themselves. There are lots and lots of resources for Book Creator. So on this next page here, you'll kind of see, if you click on any of these links, they've got this like teacher first lesson teacher guide. So you could click here to kind of read through that, where it gives you some tips. They also have lots of example books. I really love looking at like templates or examples because it always just gives me ideas of how other teachers use it. And then I can kind of craft my own ideas from there. So if you kind of click on that link, you'll see that there's some templates and then examples that you can sort through by grade level. So you can get some ideas here. And then I think the last thing on this slide is just a resources for teachers page. So lots that you can kind of click through and explore in there. I'll just open up Book Creator over here. If you do sign up for a class, you'll get like a little class or bookshelf like this. You can set this one up through Clever. I know here in Billings we use Clever. I don't know at other places. That's kind of a quick, easy way. If you set it up, it'll roster them, and then they can just click into it through Clever and get here pretty quickly. Otherwise, you can add them either by where they can sign in with Google, or you can create QR code logins. Like our younger students don't usually sign in with Google onto their iPad, so a QR code login would be nice for them. I'll just kind of show you where New Book is. You'll see that you've got lots of choices here. I usually just start with this one to get started. And again, I'm just going to show you a couple things and then you'll have some explore time. The plus sign here is where you'll see lots of the things that you can add. So you'll notice you could search for images or take a picture. You've got the pen, and I'll show you that in a second, and text. I just wanted to show you text really quickly. I'm going to say PBS Media Lab as my title. When I want to format this, I have to kind of be sure I'm clicked on my text, and then this little I here is my format tool. I always forget what it stands for. I think it's inspector or something. But here's how I could make it bigger. I can change the font on here by clicking through. I can change the color over here. If I don't like one of those colors, I can click here, and basically any color that I want it to be, I could select that color from there. So my formatting options are in this I, but if you're trying to format your text, just be sure your text is selected. And then you'll also notice if I click on the I, now I'm just formatting the page itself. So I can kind of click around and play with the page a little bit. I'm going to show you one last thing in the drawing because it's pretty cool. So if I go plus, and then I'm opening up the pen, I have all of these different drawing tools here. You can imagine marker, pen, glitter pen. This auto draw tool is pretty cool. Probably one of the first things like AI tools that I probably started using. Somehow I'm here on a rainbow pen. You could be on a glitter pen. Now, let's see what my drawing is so bad, AI can't usually even tell when I'm trying to draw. But the idea here is if you start to draw something, you notice at the top that it'll kind of try figuring out what it is that I'm drawing. And then I could click. So I'm trying to draw a flower, and I do see a nice little flower right here. So then I could click on it and it'll turn, like kind of automatically turn my drawing into that little flower. So, and then I'm going to just click out of there and say done. And then it will load my little image, and I could make it bigger, smaller. I could have changed the color, things like that. So that auto draw tool in there is kind of cool.
For those who weren't here with us in the last couple of weeks, I'll just share again about a PD opportunity that we have for teachers who are looking for something a little more rigorous. And the things that we shared in this workshop are all products that you could use to help you with this program. This is PBS Media Literacy certification for educators. It is a self-paced program for teachers that want to demonstrate their competency in media literacy. And it is a stack of 8 micro-credentials. Each micro-credential is connected to a competency in media literacy, such as making media for classroom use, or understanding the privacy laws for using digital tools, or creating a code of conduct. So all of those things are part of this program. We have a program set up for teachers who want to do this with some support from us. And so the registration link is there at the bottom that you can register, and that will get you access to our Google Classroom. The Google Classroom has a video for each micro-credential that provides some examples and some support for how to do the work and submit it. And then once you have completed all 8 of the micro-credentials, you can qualify to have 30 OPI credits. We do have this approved with Billings for Step Up for those of you in the Billings district. And then we have some fun swag that we send you as well. And then you join, I think we're close to it, just about 150 other teachers across the United States who have earned this micro-credential, who have earned these micro-credentials. And I think we have 15 here in Montana who have done it, which is a pretty good percentage of the national. Mallory said you looked into it, but you're just substitute teaching, you don't have your own classroom. You do have to submit student samples, and for some of the micro-credentials. There are some that you don't. The ones that you don't have, that you need student samples are for, there is some workaround. You just need learners to be in front of you. And so there are some creative hacks if you work with adults in any capacity, or you have your own children or your neighbor's children that you could do activities with. You don't necessarily have to be a formal classroom teacher. So if there's someone who would let you borrow their students to do the activity, to submit some work samples, that's allowed too. And oh, you have your own children. There you go. It'll be good for them. You really just have to, for a lot of the micro-credentials, you are writing instructional plans, teaching the instructional plans, and then gathering work samples from the students after you taught the instructional plans. So it's not too difficult, but it is, like I said, it is rigorous. And the teachers who go through it tell us that they learned quite a bit, and it really helped them to think about how media literacy can really permeate everything that they teach, from kindergarten up to working with adult learners as well. So it's free, it's open all the time. If now's not a good time, maybe summer would work, but we just made it asynchronous so that everybody could take advantage of it. And then the other opportunity is Watch and Learn, where we have a catalog of Montana PBS films that you can watch and earn credit for watching and then filling out a reflection activity. Every reflection activity has the exploration of a collection of resources on PBS Learning Media. We're working on adding some new ones to the catalog, but we've got things in social studies and science and math and Indian education. It's another asynchronous way to get some credit on your own time for watching films, and hopefully getting some really great ideas for how to use this media with your students. So check that out. If you haven't had a chance, you can browse the catalog right here. So on your way out tonight, we would like you to fill out our exit survey. This is just gathers some feedback about this workshop series, just the same as the one that you have filled out every week. We've added a couple of questions about, we want to do these again in the summer. And so we'd love to know what tools you're interested in learning more about in that series. And then any other thoughts that you have. So we will be planning, I'm hoping for maybe 3 to 5 workshops that we do in the summer. And maybe we'll bring in some other presenters too, to help us add to these. So feel free to fill that out and share your feedback with us so that we can create this for the summer, and also tell our stakeholders that these were successful and that people came. Thank you so much for attending this series and being a part of this. It has been really fun to talk with you each week. And as I said before, you'll be getting an email with all the links and the credit in the next couple of days. And I'll get this edited and on YouTube, hopefully by the end of the week, so that if you want to watch it again, if you need to remember the steps for how to create a book, book creator, things like that, you can rewatch it, or share it with anybody that that you'd like to. Traci, thank you so much for all of your help.
Yeah, anytime.
3 weeks
Love
just
hanging
flew
with you.
by.
I know it really did.
Yeah.
This was so fun. So thanks everyone for joining us, and Nikki for having me. This was fun.